digital inclusion is an important cornerstone of our efforts to ensure Angelenos from all backgrounds find their passions, discover their talents, and get good paying jobs, putting them on a path to the middle class. So thank you all for what you do to help Angelenos learn, grow, and achieve.
Many of us are the example of the American dream. Let us make sure that generations from now we'll have young people that will be able to say the exact same thing because of the work that we did.
We seem to have an atrocious deficit in our collective understanding that society can and must provide public goods for social well-being, a quality and well-funded education being the first and foremost.
Each of you are invited because of the work you do in different sectors. It's very important that we learn and figure out how to speak across sectors, because the challenges we face here in Los Angeles and this country and the world can't be solved in any one of these sectors by themselves. We have great challenges, we also have great opportunities. Today is a day to figure out how do we begin to maximize the potential that's there to begin to build a different kind of future for Los Angeles and hopefully set example for the entire country.
So technology is necessary, it's not an option, right? But more than technology, it's the relationship, it's the belief system, it's the system conversation to address the talent that is dying to exist.
We need to ensure that equity is baked in, not sprinkled on.
In School to Home, I was just fascinated with the involvement and parent involvement yesterday. Thank you, Sophia and Francisco. It was just wonderful to hear the parent education that is happening.
If we're clear about the type of instruction and opportunities we want students to have, the dynamics of how we change our classroom so students are global collaborators, so that digital citizenship isn't a list of what you can't do, but a list of what you should do, and getting back to that civic engagement. It was a way of helping students find their voice and for teachers being able to accelerate instruction in their classroom.
The School to Home focused on developing digital tools and the mastery for teachers. The Neighborhood Transformation Partnership focuses on developing digital tools and mastery for social workers, for mental health workers, for probation officers, and others. The promise is much more integrated and much more effective service provision.
If we don't make major changes, the trajectory is so powerful going in the wrong direction that we can't recover. We can't afford to just work on little incremental peripheral changes. We actually have to do big, bold, make big differences.
I think by being here today, it's just another step in the right direction around our scalability and how are we going to continue to sustain these partnerships.
Coding will not change poverty. It doesn't matter how much coding we put in our schools, it will not change poverty at this point.
Really embrace those relationships, really hearing the community, what we need to do as a county to improve outcomes for children and their families.
So that our curriculum can be perfectly coinciding with the skill sets that employers need. Academic agility, the ability to learn. No longer is it about just performing a job function. It's about learning how to learn and be adaptable and agile as the market moves forth.
We have local talent right here in our own backyard that are ready, capable, and eager to jump into these positions. And so how are we positioning ourselves to open these opportunities for them?
But I would say for the employers in the room, I think you've heard from almost everyone up here the important role that you can play in creating opportunities. Education is an input, and we need employers to be creating opportunities to host students and helping them understand where opportunities exist.
The point is, what we really need are those opportunities for our students to go out in the world and see themselves as real professionals.
We exist to build what we call joint initiatives between the County of Los Angeles and the private sector. And a joint initiative is essentially a project-based systems change, which is to say it gets on the ground. It gets to helping our Department of Public Social Services do more to prevent children and families from entering the child welfare system in the first place.
Realigning resources for system change starts with leadership. And I believe that we have that. I absolutely agree with the support that we have currently with the Board of Supervisors and with the mayor. We can do that through policy change through MOUs where we can solidify the roles and responsibilities of what each of us as an entity brings to the table.
When you give people the tools and the opportunity to discuss what is impacting their daily experiences, it creates a platform for change.
The inability to really leverage that partnership between nonprofits and government to align resources is still a very strong obstacle. And if we're going to say, look, it takes more than just test scores, it takes addressing the needs of homeless, it takes addressing the needs of English language learners, of all these needs, and systems have to align, it has to be easier to partner with one another.
Radical equity is required, right? Our investments have to be dramatically different from school site to school site. And by the way, the school is a unit of change. It is not the district, right? The district cannot come up with solutions from on high that work for 5 schools, let alone 500 or 1,000, right? What districts need to be doing is empowering schools to make much more localized decisions.
I'm in philanthropy, helping to fund nonprofits. But as we've got into more and more of that work, we've thought more about not just funding good efforts like what's happening in Long Beach and YMCA partners and SELA Collaborative and others, but really taking what they're doing and learning and trying to think about what's the systems angle for this? How do we help promote this across the system and create real equity within the system for those who don't have everything they need?
When you help another human being through a developmental process in life, that is sacred. And I also believe that people have to heal. Culturally, people in poverty have to heal. So when we talk about institutions and skill building, we have to include social, emotional, cultural into that equation in order for young people to have value and hope.
Change is a long-term process. We're talking about, dismantling and changing structural systems that have been in place for so long. It cannot be done in the next year or two, right? And I think oftentimes we don't take enough time to celebrate, the small victories that we have in the process.
Lastly, the collective agency part of all of this is central. It's clear that this problem is the kind when you present it out loud, it's overwhelming. It makes it feel like there's this sense of paralysis, like what the hell are we gonna do? There has never been a moment in American history where this wasn't legalized, where we've had this extraordinary wealth gap fueled by the complements of what race and its kind of insidious factors do, and are expecting a public institution like education to fix it.
That was our mission of the California Emerging Technology Fund, Go Close the Digital Divide. Why are we in this conference? It is because we cannot accomplish that mission unless we tackle concentrated, persistent poverty, yes, institutionalized racism, every one of the inequities that has been discussed today.
We get so fixed on these stories of people beating the odds that we forget that our real task is to change the odds so that these stories are not unusual, that they become the American norm. So let's work together to change the odds.